Hello, my name is Patrick and I'm an artist and I'm so glad you're here. As we enter the new year, I thought I'd start by talking a little bit about my process, how I get from the idea of a thing to the end result. I do a lot of time lapses on this channel and I don't always get into the details, but I thought it may be helpful to share for some of you. So yeah, I can break down my process into three major steps: the sketch, the ink, and the color. Let's dive in with the sketch. So for this project, I was rolling random prompts using a bunch of old wheels, and I rolled a space barbarian. Immediately I had to make some decisions. Really, what does a space barbarian mean? I looked up some images and decided to land on a space barbarian lady with a giant gun. And this is where the sketching truly can begin. So what is a sketch? I like to define it as the freedom to draw without judgment. I can make mistakes, things that look ugly, I can experiment and move things, and even start again if I have to. And in every case, I've not gotten too far into my image, so tossing it away and restarting, you don't really lose that much time. The Space Barbarian is a great example because recently I've been trying to push myself to draw more women, which means I'm working in a space I'm not super comfortable with. And you know what, that's perfectly fine, right? Because we're in the sketching phase, and so about halfway through my sketch, I threw it out and started again. And I think that kind of makes sketching fun. It's not meant to be final. It's not really meant to be for other people. It's freedom to express and try to make things work for you. But as you near the end of the sketching phase, you do need to start making some decisions as to what you like and what you want to keep. And here you really are just refining the sketch. Sometimes I do a second sketch layer on top of my previous sketch, or just work on one part on its own. Either way, I push it till I feel like I have enough to get me ready for inking, and that's what comes next. This is what my final sketch looks like in this image. Up next is inking. Inking is the phase in which we start to focus on our final image, taking the lines from the sketch and deciding to lock them in. Here I'm much more careful. While sketching is messy and loose, I start to tighten my approach in the inking. This doesn't mean I give up on refining or retrying things that aren't working. In fact, I regularly use the liquefy tool to nudge my lines work, or I find myself deleting lines and trying again. Inking can go beyond simple line art. It's basically for your blackest tones. So if you use thick shadows, you can begin to work them in here, but you can also do that in the coloring stage. There are about a million different ways to do your line work. You should experiment and see what works for you. Here's what my inking stage looked like at the end. And the final stage is coloring. This is both getting colors in and adding light and shadows. I use a simple technique in Procreate to do my flat colors. Those are the colors that are the foundational colors of your image. I duplicate my line art and I use the fill tool to fill in the lines on the bottom layer of the two. This way, any overlapping color or any color bleed remains under the clean lines. With flat colors done, there's many rendering approaches for light and shadow. For shadows, I tend to use a multiply layer at about 50% opacity and a blue tone in this example. But you can also manually select colors, work with airbrush tools, or any number of things. For highlights, I brighten my base colors and draw along the highlighted edges. To wrap up, I do some blurring and lighting layers to add some ambiance. And we have an image. That was our Space Barbarian and a little bit of instruction on how I draw my images. Thank you so much for watching. I realize it's a pretty basic description, but my goal was really to just have a closer look at the steps and explain how I use them. If you would like a more in-depth guides to them, I can look at adding more of those in the future. But for now, thanks for watching, and until next time, keep being awesome. Bye!